No, one more time. One more time.
Run
it back. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, hackers. Hello. Today is... What day is it, John? It's Wednesday?
It is Wednesday, I think. I hope.
It's Wednesday, October 16th. Welcome to the Huntress halftime, CTF halftime show. My name is Matt Kiley. I'm joined today by my two esteemed colleagues and co-hosts, the man, the myth, the mustache, Adam Rice, and your favorite hacker's favorite hacker, John Hammond. Hey, guys. How we doing?
How's it going, everyone?
So welcome. Today is kind of a breakdown of where we're at with the CTF. We've seen a lot of we've had it's been a roller coaster. We've had some ups, we've had some downs. In fact, the infrastructure has had some downs. And while we're fixing and troubleshooting that, it is a really good time to hang out with us in the CTF halftime show. I also want to just dispel the rumor. I don't know who keeps starting these rumors. Sabrina Carpenter is not playing at the halftime show this year. Don't know who keeps saying this. We didn't book her. She's very busy. Anyway.
Can you imagine it next year though, 2025? We're
gonna hire. Yeah, we'll get somebody on the.
It's the Super Bowl, totally.
Yeah. So welcome. We are monitoring chat. In fact, I will be totally honest and say we hardly have any schedule for this. Honestly, we are hanging out. We're chilling.
All improv.
All improv. If you have questions, if you have comments, if you want to know a little bit about behind the scenes or anything like that, throw some questions in chat. Let's get it going. So far, the CTF has been what I can only describe as a lot of fun, really. I mean that sincerely. It's been a really good time to see the community come out. This is the second year that we've done the CTF, and we learn a little bit about how to run one of these, every time that we run one. We applied a lot of the lessons learned from last year. We brought some really fun, really cool challenges out to the field this year. So let's just kick it off and say, John, Adam, how are you guys feeling about this?
Great. Yeah. We definitely did bring out a lot of the lessons learned from last year, and just, I don't know, we're 15 days into it now, halfway through the month. It's feeling, the challenge issues that we had this morning aside, it's been feeling pretty stable. We're not building it while we're flying a plane. A month-long CTF is still kind of, I don't want to say unheard of, but definitely not done very often. Right. So we're trying to figure out how to keep this thing flying for as long as we can, because our infrastructure was really only designed to run like a two-day event at a time. But it's been a ton of fun. I'm glad people are really enjoying it. The Discord's been seeing a lot of traffic. So
yeah, it's a good time in there. I love hanging out in the Discord, especially like day one of the CTF. It feels like a September in a college campus where everybody's just like out and about, shaking hands, saying hi to everybody. John, how are you feeling? What's up, dude?
I'm good. I mean, I'm happy to see all the engagement. To echo you all, the Discord is incredible. I love seeing the community kind of, goof off and share memes and GIF and just have fun. There is a balancing act of talking about the challenges and the material. We have been trying to, lay down the line here and there every now and again, be like, hey, no, not as much info and details on things, but it is still very cool. I'm so excited for the write-ups, but it's still wild to think, we're only at the halfway point in the month. I know we've had a good handful of what we tend to call warm-ups challenges, like some softballs, some fun, maybe more beginner-friendly hand-holding things. But it's a fascinating balancing act where I acknowledge, look, we have some elite, hardcore veterans, SOC analysts, digital forensics, incident response experts, and folks that play. But we also have some folks that are totally new, like absolute students that have their first capture the flag in front of them ever. And we still want to make things somewhat guided, or at least still feel like, hey, you've got things you can cruise through. You've got some wind beneath your wings, and it's still fun and enjoyable. So well, I agree. Yeah, month-long CTF and new challenges released every day. I know it's still trying to balance the amount of toys that we give you to play with. Even thus far, it's been maybe 2 a day. One beginner-friendly, one baby, one easy, one warm-ups, and maybe one with a little bit more meat, a little bit more beef and substance to it. But I genuinely hope that's been a lot of fun for you all playing. I think we're up to what, like 6,000, 6,500 players?
Over 6,000 players. I don't remember the team breakout. It's like maybe 3,000 teams or something like that, which would imply that every team has 2 people. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Math in public. So CTFs. I mean, CTFs are storied, culturally significant in the hacker culture. We do ours a little bit differently. And I just want to talk a little bit about like when Huntress sat down to say we wanted to host a CTF, really just for the love of the community and the love of the game here. We wanted to kind of bring it with our own spin, right? And so a lot of I wrote about this in the blog post after last CTF, and it still holds true today, that a lot of CTFs are very CTF-y. And I know you shouldn't define things in terms of themselves, right? But I think John and Adam know what I'm talking about when it's like a CTF will have a lot of challenges that are very like wacky, almost like kind of got like a zany wackiness to them. Like you'll find a website that's like, this is, Sally Seashells, the best seashells on the shore. How can you shell this website? And you learn like a vocabulary and how to interact with challenges like that. And we still have a lot of that in the CTF right now. But the other half of the coin here is what Huntress tries to represent as the real life, like malware related, DFIR related challenges that get you into the shoes of like a SOC analyst or like a DFIR professional. So, John, a little bit about just like challenge design from your perspective. Like, I know you have done a lot of the first class of CTFs that are all very kind of like zany and have a lot of different variety and miscellaneous quality. What's it like designing CTF challenges that are kind of this is what it's like to be in the shoes of a DFIR analyst or a SOC analyst?
Ooh, super good question. And I think I'm trying to think of how to tackle and approach this one, because it's a lot of fun is probably the short answer, because, hey, I want to make something more real, so to speak. I want to make something genuinely like, pulling apart a sample that we've seen in the wild, or having some tradecraft and tricks that we want to bring to the table just because like we've seen this in the actual like landscape, so to speak, and not just some cutesy, I don't know, ROT 13 base 64, which we obviously of course do and have to have because I don't know, obligatory CTF tradition for the wacky zany upbringing of traditional quote unquote cookie cutter capture the flag. But at the same time, I do want to bring you something that has a lot of like industry meaning to it. And if we are up for it, gentlemen, I think it would be super duper cool to do some show and tell, to do some demos, do some live screen share. I don't know if we want to dive right into that right now or keep bantering for a little bit, but I think, I don't know, maybe both of us or all of us might have some to, bring to the table and show off.
I think so, actually. I think that's a really good idea. Why don't we jump right into that? I did see a question from chat. Is there going to be a system code part 2? It's funny watching everyone lose their collective minds over it. I don't think we know at this point if there's going to be a system code part 2 this year. Will there ever be a system code part 2 is another interesting question, but I don't think we have one planned for the rest of the CTF, at least this time around.
Truman and I were joking about it the other day that system code part 2 would just be a blank text box with no flag.
Completely uncrackable, unsolvable.
Yeah, unsolvable. It just has no flag. Empty text box.
Can we please give a big shout out and big props to and kudos to Truman, though?
Yeah,
for folks that aren't familiar, he was the author of System Code, which has become quite a conversation, but good, bad, and ugly in all directions. But bless his heart, Truman has been incredible, and thank you so much for being part of the party here with us.
Absolutely. So anybody else in chat, if you have any questions, just throw them right in the chat. Again, we don't have a ton to we don't really have an agenda today. We just want to talk with the community about how we're feeling. Go Crack Me went crazy. It made me realize how little I know about RE. Will be fun to learn more once the write-ups are out. I think I said this last year. It is a ton of effort to put on a CTF. It's a ton of effort to write challenges. It's a ton of effort to get all the pieces into position to actually like pull this thing off. Seeing messages like that makes it all worth it, because part of a CTF, at least how I see it, I think John and Adam both agree with me. Like, part of a CTF is to put people into the zone of approximal learning, right? So like it's a puzzle. CTF challenges are puzzles. Like any good puzzle, you'll have the pieces and it's up to you to learn enough to put them together so that you can solve the puzzle. And if you're not challenged, you're not going to learn. But if you're overwhelmed by the challenge, you're also not going to learn. You need to be in the sweet spot of the educational theorists call it the zone of approximal learning. That's what we try to do with CTFs. I know a lot of CTFs out there like really bring the pain with the challenge difficulty, and there are, believe me, there's like one or two this year in this CTF that are I think fall into that category. But But I see messages like that, and I'm reminded that like if you've put somebody into that zone where they have the pieces, have to do the research, have to push themselves, but eventually find the way to solve the challenge, you have done your job as a CTF designer. So I'm very thankful for that. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I can tell you that it makes the challenge devs days to see messages like that. So thank you. That's all I really want to say. Thank you so much. So let's see, John, if you want to kick it on doing a little bit of show and tell for like what we've got in terms of like challenge dev, in terms of stepping through what it's like to build a challenge, I think we should go ahead and kick that right now. What do you think?
If that's okay, I would love to showcase a little bit of Strange Calc, kind of throwback to day one kickoff for the Huntress CTF. But with that, I think, hey, you know what? It would be sweet for me to show a little bit of the past. Maybe Matt, if you wanted to tease a little bit of the future.
I got a little to show, a little glimpse of what's coming up, a little glimpse of what's to come. So yeah.
Cool. Adam, I don't want to put you on the spot when the time comes, but if you do have anything you'd love to kick off, that'd be sweet. And Brian, if I may, the voice in the back of our minds and our ears listening in production. Hey, production, I would love if we could pull up the screen share and hey, let's get the party started.
Tech booth. Shout out to the tech booth.
So thank you, everyone. If for whatever reason you're listening to this thing and you don't know what the heck we're talking about, this Capture the Flag competition is available online, accessible, free for everyone at huntress.ctf.games. You can go check it out in your browser, spin up a team, or just play solo, and that's okay. You can hop over to the challenges. And I wanted to showcase one of the tasks that started off early in the competition, and this was Strange Calc. This was released the very first day, but I was pleased that a lot of people seemed to have fun with it, and I thought it was hysterical. For the very first day of October, celebrating Cybersecurity Awareness Month, we got everyone to pop Calc, so to speak, open up the Calculator app application, and it says for some reason it needs admin permissions to run, where you're given a binary to download. And I, if I may, will show you some of the fun behind the scenes in sort of solving the challenge, not really, but telling you a little bit of how it was kind of cooked up and put together.
Can we pause here? The Kali backgrounds get more ridiculous every iteration. I'm still using the just blue tiled one, very simple blue tile with the dragon on it, but they're getting nuts. Anyway, take it away, John.
It goes like full Dragon Ball Z, where it's like the snake falling out of whatever.
there's a whole repository of them at this point.
Super cool. So here's the fun behind the scenes. In literally the Git repo for Huntress CTF in our Strange Calc folder, all the challenges are in a little dump over there in the repository. But hey, you can see all the breadcrumbs, all the puzzle pieces, all the things that were put together for eventually what you would extract and download and have as calc.exe, which might look like at first glance as you explore it with the file command, oh, just a Windows binary, not a .NET assembly, not something like a mono file that we could rip up in dnspy or ilspy or some of the easy stuff. I think that's the first thing I look for is like, oh shoot, it's a windows.exe file. I don't want to open up Ghidra. I don't want to deal with IDA because real reverse engineering scares me. And I'm terrified of Rust and Go, but that's just me falling on my sword.
The Eldritch horrors that exist down at the machine code and assembly instruction level are beyond our comprehension. So if something's in the CLR and you can just open it up, it's essentially just the source code itself. That's like, yes.
You gentlemen are much smarter than me, but I like my scripting language stuff.
I'll tell you what, I do just immediately see one thing that is of interest, even in this, just the output of this file.
Oh yeah, what are you seeing?
File command. GUI, Intel 80386. So that's all just like native compiled portable executable, but UPX compressed 3 sections right there is kind of interesting. So at least if I'm looking at this is a malware challenge. I understand that much. If I'm looking at it in terms of like a reverse engineering and malware analysis methodology, very first thing I'm going to do is try to unpack that with UPX. For anybody that's not familiar, what that means is that there is a block of packed, compressed byte code that's inside of that binary, and there is a small little stub that will unpack that essentially at runtime. So we're kind of in a shell game right now. So we need to unpack the shell that's inside of the binary to figure out what it's actually doing.
I wonder if I wonder if that'll do something, you know?
We got UPX. I mean, otherwise it's a misleading, indicator there, but at least that's where I would go with the first kind of thing here. What do we got? Okay.
I mean, it's clearly going to be different, but I'm curious if it got anything worthwhile out of it.
Interesting.
Now we do it for fun. Ooh, do you see a quick little cutesy breadcrumb over there, though? And that might be a telltale. I will admit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I will admit, my go-to is the old strings. I think it's overpowered, and I love it.
Yeah.
But if you did not already fall down the rabbit hole of opening this thing up in Ghidra, IDA, Cutter, whatever disassembler debugger you might like, the gimmick here is that this is an auto IT binary. It is a compiled auto IT script, and it's using the old version of auto IT that can be decompiled, so to speak, and like pulled back to the original source. I think in later versions of Auto IT3 that is not as feasible or as doable, but hey, if smart folks in the chat wanted to beat me up and let me know, oh, actually you can recover it, that'd be cool. The gist is, and I can open all of these up for fun, is this was actually using the old school Auto IT 3249 version, which can be pulled back out of the exe state and back to the pure AU3 script.
Very cool.
So if you would use some of the tools to pull it back, you will get this gross thing, which has the prompt, oh, you have to run this as an administrator, which if you actually double clicked on it or ran in the dynamic sandbox, that's what it would whine and complain about. It's genuinely making sure you are running this as an admin. But then it will open up Calc. After some strange, sketchy, interesting things, because it actually ends up running another command that you might have seen in that base 64 data. But the cool thing is, this is actually a stager to run JScript.
Yep.
And if folks were tracking over in my README, these are just scrappy notes, stupid stuff for me. I actually wanted to pull a snippet from a lot of the offensive repositories that are out and about. And Matt, I'm sure you're super familiar with offensive Rust. I don't know, Adam, if you've ever dug into like offensive Golang, but sweet resources as to how you can do interesting things in a language or tooling for more malware or more hacker tradecraft, right?
Very cool. So for those maybe not familiar, so JScript, John, can you explain a little bit about like, because it's an interesting quirk of Windows that you can put a file as a .js file, normally would be a JavaScript file, and Windows will somehow interpret that as something that can execute code. Can you talk a little bit about like the setup there and why that's kind of interesting from like a malware forensics and malware analysis perspective?
Totally. And thank you. Without a doubt, you're totally right. Normally, we think of a .js extension as like client side in the browser, or something like Firefox or Chrome would roll with to run JavaScript. But on Windows, there is some dialect, some version of and JScript, I think, is what I will die on this hill, and noting that that is a differentiator for the Windows world, where you can create ActiveX objects and really run local code, local commands, natively, naturally executing on the Windows operating system. Yep. So think of it like a Visual Basic script, like a .vbs file, or very, very similar to a .cmd or .bat or .com, old school file extensions, right? But those will naturally and natively run with some of the internal scripting language that Windows just knows what to do with.
Yep.
HTA just as well, with MSHTA being the interpreter. For stuff like JScript or Visual Basic script, traditionally that'll end up running with WScript or CScript. WScript for a window and CScript for the command line. But I don't mean to fall down the rabbit hole too far, but what do you think, Matt? Is that an A-OK quick crash course explanation?
Nailed it, man. I mean, so like the big differentiator for me is that when you think of JavaScript, like the full-on .js JavaScript, that's generally going to be limited to running in a browser, whether you're accessing that over like just like actually going to the website, or you can even run it locally just open a browser and run something locally. But that's like contained in the browser, right? But JScript, Windows is like, no. We're not just going to stay in the browser. You can call code to execute on the actual operating system itself, which is like an amazing design choice, to say the least. So commonly seen in initial access malware intrusion kind of stuff. It's your classic like stage 1 payload that you can send a .js file, kick it off with like an LNK or something like that, or just have somebody masquerade it as something that someone needs to run anyway. And bing, bang, boom, you've got code executing on the actual operating system, not just contained within the browser via the WScript shell that you see there. Fun.
So
it's a fun
I
one.
will wrap this one up and shut up so we can have even more fun. But the long and short of this is if you pull out this auto IT, original syntax and script, that will bring you to that base 64 encoded JScript, which if you decode is going to be JSE for an encoded JScript file. Does the very, very same as VBE, if you've ever seen that file extension. Again, just like Visual Basic script, that's one that can be an encoded representation that will still totally run. I know this does not look like functional code, but the interpreter knows how to do it. I think that is like strenc in old school Windows script, and I'm going to be Googling on the fly here. Forgive me, I might be wrong in that, but there is a name for that old tool that would actually do that and make the encoded files. With that said, after you pull apart the JScript, if you do, you'll have this gunk, which ends up creating, with shell system commands in a gross packed way, a new local administrator account, genuinely, legitimately. However, it sneaks in a flag as the password for that user in a UU encoding, which might be dumb, and I will totally acknowledge, but that's also just hiding the plain text flag from something you just rip out with strings, and hopefully gives you a little bit more awareness of like, oh, those are some sweet telltale signs of a UU encoding, which might smuggle in some tricks some way, somehow. So there's a lot of fun we can have, but that was a quick crash course driving down our original JScript capability.
So if we run it back, let's talk a little bit about like the challenge design, just take a step back and wrap it all up. So for a malware challenge, to be relatively realistic, we took an offensive framework, right, that could produce something that can execute code as like a first stage payload. We wrap that up, encode, encrypt, obfuscate. We bundle that up in some way, and then we hide a flag as some component of the actual execution chain in there somewhere. So that's interesting because like putting a flag in, this is like a quirk of designing the malware like challenges, that you got to put a flag somewhere, right? So you've got options. You can like XOR it in the binary. You could stage it as an argument when the payload is run. You could hide it on a server somewhere else that the payload calls out to. So it's interesting that all of this wraps up into a malware based challenge where we take something that's like, something that a threat actor would actually use to execute code. We stick a flag in there. We make it nice and realistic. It's a very nice, well-designed, wrapped up challenge like that.
Thank you. No, I'm grateful. I am a stickler, truth be told, for a standard flag format. And I know that's a very, very tough thing to do when we do want to make a realistic, maybe real world, like, incident response or digital forensics. It's not always the case where you can cram in a pure MD5 hash flag structure, but I think it is important to try to, especially, and we're looking and potentially working with what might be a real malware sample. We want to defang and neuter and inoculate the thing so it's not going to do malicious things. But we've had some fun with finding the line on that. Like obviously me creating a local admin account or me trying to purposefully trigger a blue screen. There's a fun tightrope to walk in there, but we do try to encourage, hey, get inside of a virtual machine, do this smart, do this safe.
We take a lot of care in making sure that the challenges aren't actually going to like damage outright, but like every now and then we're skirting the line, creating a local administrator with the flag as a password. I mean, I would argue it's on the line there. So like if you take anything from this, please use virtual machines, use something you can roll back the state of when you're doing even the non-malware related challenges. It's still just like good practice. Even the Go Crack Me's, those are completely benign, but it's good practice to just have a VM running so that you don't have to explain to your IT administrators why you were playing a CTF and random malware challenge on your personal workstation or your company workstation.
We have had some really fun conversations though, and I think it's okay to share, like, Huntress flagging some of the stuff from the Huntress CTF and getting a call from Huntress.
Yeah. Or like people are spinning up Kali VMs and then that triggering, and then us having to be like, should this Kali VM be in your? Yeah, it's always.
I have genuinely gone into our SOC channel and said, like, hey, if you see any defender alerts for Mimi, don't worry. Yeah. It's just the capture the flag.
Yeah. Every time I sync our challenge repo, it fires off a bunch of alerts and the SOC gets mad at me.
Well, I will probably, I don't know, spin this down. And Matt, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to showcase, or Adam, I'll let you all
absolutely
keep the party cruising.
Adam, next up. I mean, I'm Ghost of CTF's future. I don't know if Adam's got Ghost of CTF's present here, but I've got something to show. I got a sneak peek of something that's coming, but
yeah, I can banter a little bit. I don't have anything to screen share, mostly because I don't want to chance the challenge infrastructure right now. But I wanted to talk about the Redfish Bluefish challenge. That was a fun one for the first few days, and kind of the community memes that came out of it and everything. So for those who don't know, that was another one of Truman's challenges. Him and I worked together on it. And it was a challenge where you are tasked with phishing a user. I think it was Sarah Williams was the name of the user we picked, from Perch Data Solutions. And we didn't really tell you how to go about phishing them. But the OSINT role was to, look at the domain and actually go to the website and see, just pose as somebody she works with. We got some really good feedback that it wasn't quite clear who we were supposed to pose as, and we didn't give enough clues to that. So we'll definitely keep that into account for next year. But we made some quick tweaks within the first hour, where a couple teams had given us really good feedback that the description wasn't really clear, that the challenge infrastructure was it wasn't real. Like, you weren't going to get an actual email response from a human or anything like that. So we made a tweak to the description to make it a little more clear that you weren't going to get a response. And I asked Truman, I'm like, hey, can you throw an error message in there that just makes it a little bit clear that they're not waiting around for something? So that's where the 250 okay, but try harder came in. And that suddenly became a quick meme for everything. So that was a lot of fun. I think that was one of the first challenges that came out in the first week. So that was a lot of fun to get to solve that and see everybody's reaction to it. And then I will give a little bit of a sneak peek. Again, I don't have any fancy graphics to show, but like John, I don't really like pulling open Ghidra and doing real reverse engineering. It scares me. I am a lowly sysadmin. I like my scripting languages. So I have written a couple malware challenges for the CTF. A couple of them have been released already. There is one coming up that I think a lot of people are going to hate me for. And I'm excited for it. I hope it's going to show off a new technique that people haven't seen before, but that's all I'll give you.
I love that there's kind of there's design limitations you have to work with in CTF challenges. And just Redfish Bluefish reminded me that you can kind of push those boundaries a little bit. We obviously, there are things that we can't spin up a full on company's worth of infrastructure that can respond with emails, or maybe we can. I don't know. That's part of the fun of designing these challenges is what are our limitations, and can we hacker mindset kind of push those limitations to see how realistic can we get this challenge? Can we get emails that are coming back in response? What are there's also a big there's a design consideration about interaction. There's a whole UX component to this. When people interact with challenges, what do they see? So it's super cool. It just reminds me that there's a lot of interesting design space to play with in terms of CTF challenges. I'm super excited to see. I know what Adam has coming up in store for you, so I'm super excited to see. I did see one question here. Would the Sekiro source be made available once the competition ends? I have not made it a point to ever release my CTF code, the code on the challenge side of the house. I don't mind. Obviously, I don't mind write-ups after the challenge is done. Let me consider it. I mean, it's one of those things I got to think about a little bit. Do we want to release the source code of the challenges? I'll tell you, for the malware ones, my personal philosophy is absolutely not, because malware authors are never kind enough to give you source code. They don't just hand it over unless it's .NET Framework A. Yeah, so for the malware challenges, I'm like, no, that's pure, like, you have the end result of something. You need to work your way back to the start. The other challenges, I don't know. I'll have to think a little bit about it. I don't think I have a good answer for you. So, and then let's see if we caught up on any of the other questions here. I think we are. Cool. Again, if you have questions, we're just chilling. We're hanging out. Us. That's anyway. So I'll go ahead and share what I've got coming up for Ghost of CTF Challenges future here. And I'm not going to say too much about it. Brian, bring it in, my guy. I'm not going to say too much about it, but the trained eye to the keen observer might be able to pick out a couple things here. But this is an upcoming challenge, and I think, and we'll see how it goes, I think this is going to be the most difficult challenge in the whole CTF. Maybe.
Really?
I think. And I'm not gonna spoil why, but I think this is going to be the most difficult one in the whole game.
I am very pleased to hear that, because if I may, I think I had helped kind of sprinkle in the little idea for how you could tie it all together. So I hope this is a good, fun one.
Yeah. So I actually I love, this is like an extension of the kind of like how you talk about challenge without talking about challenges in the Discord. Like, hey, you got to give people riddles because you're like wondering if you've solved it. Anyway, John gave me some direct feedback about this because I showed a very early version of this and said, I just can't quite put it together about how we're going to make this into a challenge. And John was like, have you considered? And I was like, I have not considered, but that is awesome. Took it back to the Forge, did a little rework of it, came up with this. And this is the challenge as it exists today. So excited to show everybody. It looks like Christmas. Exactly. I think we got some gliders in there. If you know anything about, again, not saying too much, but if you know anything about what this is, I think we got a couple gliders and some.
It's just beautiful digital goldfish. You know?
I will throw this on my terminal sometimes and just look at it if I'm feeling overwhelmed. So I saw one other. Will we see any web challenges for the second half of the CTF? Yes, we have web challenges that are upcoming. I wrote a bunch of them. We've got some fun little web challenges. There's a website that's all about managing your plants. It's a plants care management website that you've got to hack. We've got one that's this is a fun one. We've got ones that are inspired by, I called it like the Huntress greatest hits. We've got challenges that are inspired by actual CVEs, actual small to medium business intrusions that we've seen. We encapsulated those into kind of like a little challenge effigy in a way, and we're going to have those a little bit later. So I'd say like maybe in like a week and a half, we're going to have some web app challenges. But yes, they're coming. Web app phone challenges are on the way. Thank you for asking.
I think it's okay. I may spoil. We will have our first sighting of some web challenges tomorrow.
Excellent.
So please do join.
Oh,
join the party.
John, speaking of the schedule, can you post the schedule so far?
I did yesterday, and it's in a thread off the CTF general chat in the banter section.
Never going to find that.
I have that. Yeah, I have it as a there's a thread there, but yeah, we should post that in maybe like I almost said immutable. That doesn't make any sense. In an unwritable, in a world readable channel in the Discord.
Yeah, just throw it in the announcements channel. Someone had asked about it yesterday because they wanted to organize their write-ups by day, but we have not been posting what challenges are coming out what day.
Yep.
So that was decent feedback.
I can pull it up if that's okay.
So we'll get the schedule posted. So thank you for that feedback. We'll go ahead and get that posted for everybody. Again, any other questions? Anything you're curious about? Do you want to talk what it's like to run a CTF? Do you want to talk? Do you want to vent about how difficult the challenges are? Just throw some stuff in the chat. We're hanging today. Otherwise, we can, call this early, give everybody some time back and say thank you for hanging out with us. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of the CTF. It's been a lot of fun so far to put this on. Like I said, a lot of work. The work that goes into this is a labor of love for sure. My co-host here and everybody behind the scenes worked, nights and weekends and put in a lot of hours in addition to all their kind of just Huntress day jobs to bring all of these to everybody, just for the love of the game, for the love of the community, and for the betterment of everybody. And hopefully you walk away from learning something. So that's where I'm at right there. What you got?
Can I keep dancing for just a little bit?
Dance away, sir.
No, I will do my best to pull up the scoreboard, because I think it would be worthwhile to, hey, let some folks actually see how the game's going. Now that we are, let's see.
Are there still like 8 teams tied for first?
Yeah, I will pull up my screen here, but this is kind of the fun. And you're totally right, Adam, and that there's a certain balancing act, because everything with dynamic scoring will likely dwindle down to the lowest minimum point value that each challenge could be worth. So that's 50. But not everything has hit the threshold to whittle down to that point. So while a lot of the top spots may very well be, at the same score, currently 4,978, we will see where it breaks as to suddenly, not everyone has solved all of the challenges, because there are still a good many that are going to be not yet hitting the threshold for that minimum value. So even now we're up to like 57 when we finally see the break. But as the month goes on, trust me, we'll see some of those harder challenges continue to hit, and we'll see this change more and more and more. But we do want to give a lot of the sweet prizes out to the folks that are doing this each and every day. So having a lot of fun with us, we did want to expand the prize pool. So ecstatic that we can at least get something for all of the 50 top players. So it's cool to see that scoreboard spread the way that it could very well be. But goodness, we've got about 2,000 plus folks over on the scoreboard. So big thanks and sweet celebration for everyone that has been playing. And congrats to the winners that are still crushing it up at the top.
Absolutely. I even recognize some team names from last year. So it's cool to see you back in the game. That's super cool. And it looks like Adam's back. Welcome back.
Yeah.
I hope.
Not sure what happened there.
I hope everything is okay. So well, I had a couple. Actually, I had a bunch of questions come in here. Oh my goodness, they're just flowing in now.
Many. Yeah.
Okay. What has been the challenge favorites internally, or the ones released so far? Of course. Okay, that's a great question, Adam. What do you think are your favorite challenges so far?
Bit biased, but Redfish Bluefish is probably my favorite one that I've written that's been released so far. I think Sekiro is a really cool challenge. I remember when you were writing that one, that was a really interesting idea.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, those are probably my two. Admittedly, I have not played every single challenge we've released, so I don't know what all of them are.
Right. Yeah. In fact, I'm gonna pull up the repo here. Not share it, of course, but I'm gonna look at the schedule and just jog my memory on which ones. We had a really cool set of like forensics or like IR related challenges that came through for some of our SOC analysts actually. And I thought those were really super cool. I think that's a little shop of hashes, right?
Nightmare on Hunt Street.
Nightmare on Hunt Street. There we go. Like those are super cool because they bring that kind of like I'm doing like wacky stuff. Like I'm like, fight a samurai in the terminal. But like then we've got like our actual SOC analysts who are like fighting cyber criminals come through and make a challenge like that. That kind of puts you in their shoes. I think that's super cool.
I'm looking at the schedule and I'm so excited for the next couple of weeks because there are some really sharp challenges, I think. I can't spoil yet, but yeah, hold on, you have some incredible stuff. Big shout out to Nordgaren. I see him hanging out in the chat. Full disclosure, Nordgaren is my video editor, so I love him to death. And he has helped come in clutch with some assists in upcoming challenges. And those are brain melt, absolute rack your world because they are phenomenal malware reverse engineering shenanigans.
Oh, yeah. Here's one. We do have some challenges coming up that are spiritual successors to challenges from last year.
Oh, right. Yeah, totally.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm so excited.
There might already be challenges out that are spiritual successors.
No, there is actually. There's one that I think is a spiritual successor to Crab Rave. If anybody played last year, so that I think is going to be a good time.
And that's not out yet.
That's not out yet. That's upcoming, but that will be that'll be coming soon. How do you approach making the RE challenges? So that's a fun one. That's a really fun question. I can speak a little bit about that. So RE to me is about encapsulating it is for me about like encapsulating a thing that I want people to be good at in terms of reverse engineering and dressing that up in some kind of thematic way. And then, I mean, we can take the Go Crack Me's as an example here. So like Go malware is on the rise, right? So the Go Crack Me's was just, it really was like a way to bring people into the Go dojo and just be like, all right, if you're going to go toe to toe with malware like this, you need to understand the fundamentals. Let's start at the fundamentals. Let's start with a kind of, we're going to crawl, walk, run it, basically. Start like, easy, get somebody in, even if you've never approached reverse engineering before, like with a little bit of self-study, you might be able to take a crack at Go Crack Me, right? The first one, and then step it up from there. Take some of the training wheels off. I'm trying to not say too much about the challenges to not give them away, but like start to take the training wheels off as you get to the up the continuum there. So for me, the RE challenges, another part of designing RE challenges is that you have to figure out a good way to hide the flag in them, because most often an RE challenge is a binary or something that's given to the player. It's not like a container, a remote service that gets spun up. So they will have, by virtue of the fact that all of the bytes of the binary are just there, you can't hide those. They will have all of the puzzle pieces immediately in front of them. They have to figure out a way to put those puzzle pieces together. So that's always been a fun one for me as well. But RE, it really is just like a mastery of the fundamentals, the essentials of knowing absolutely nothing about a puzzle when you step into the ring with it, and then just like gradually understanding more about it. But that's kind of what how I see it anyway.
Yeah. Reverse engineering for me, because I hate doing binary exploitation and cracking open binaries and doing all that stuff with Ghidra, you'll know with my challenges, they're almost always written in PowerShell, and I do my best to not make them disgustingly difficult to get over. So when I build a challenge, I try to find like the one piece that I want them to solve. Like, what is the core piece of the puzzle that I want them to either learn from, solve? What the flag may not necessarily be there, but what is the thing that I want them to take away from the challenge? And then I will just layer on a bunch of obfuscation on top of it. And then I will like put in C2 frameworks, make call outs all over the place, make real malware essentially. Like I think this upcoming challenge, I spent close to 20 hours on it, and I expect people to solve it in like 20 minutes. And that's what I mean. Like, you are crafting legitimate malware and then just stuffing a flag in it somewhere. But the point is you want it to be unraveled. So you're not taking the same approach as like a normal malware author, where you're trying to make it as impossible as possible. And with PowerShell, that's a lot more difficult than binary exploitation, probably, because Windows logs literally everything you do. So
I had put together a challenge that I affectionately called Russian Roulette, because the gimmick was on a chance of 6 or 7, you would just blue screen. Otherwise, it would just error or open up PowerShell on its own. But the fun that I had with that was a little bit of PowerShell, pull back from Git or GitHub gist to get another staged payload, and then something that would end up invoking batch to deobfuscate and unravel even more obfuscated PowerShell and pulling from another stage. But I had a hiccup where I realized, I make 2 separate calls to an external resource, and because if you were to run it dynamically, like in a sandbox where you can see the web requests, you could just go to the second one rather than the first one. And it's like you skip a good portion of the challenge. So I was like, oh, shoot, because of my own unthinking, I have accidentally made an unintentional solution for the challenge that will just speed run right through the end. So that's been a balancing act just as well, as trying to think of and find, and maybe sometimes totally forget all of the other alternative ways that can be ripped through your challenge. That's been a lot of fun, because I was really pleased and proud of that challenge. And then I was like, wait a second, no, I've ruined it.
The idea that there are unintentional solutions to me doesn't exist, because that means that you would have had to have checked thoroughly that your challenges should be solved in one particular way. And everybody knows I don't do that. So that doesn't exist. That's not a thing. If you get that, doesn't matter, got flag. Okay. If you got the flag, we had a hiccup where one of the challenges, the challenge author, it was like an unravel and obfuscation thing, and I'm not going to say which one, but like it was unravel obfuscation, but the challenge author forgot, like during the debugging and challenge building process, you want to just make sure that it works, so you print the flag out, right, as a debug statement, and he forgot to take that print statement out, right. It happens. That is a tried and true pitfall. Every one of us on this call has fallen into that. CTF in terms of CTF design, challenge design. It happens, like unintentional solutions are there. You cannot bulletproof, just like security. You can't bulletproof your challenge. People are going to find interesting little ways. I'm looking forward to finding all the interesting little ways that people solved the challenges that I didn't foresee. That's actually like one of the best parts.
Oh, as a malware author, that only makes you better at writing malware. Is
right.
People
True.
solve your challenges.
Well, yeah, it reminded me that like last year, hint, hint, a lot of people took the malware challenges and uploaded them to like AnyRun or Triage or Virus Total. And I was like, oh, that's something we got to account for next time. So I don't know if I like accounted for that this year, but anyway, it's just little lessons learned. Things, it's life. The life finds a way, as they say. So anyway, yeah, exactly. Didn't want last year Virus Total just gave the flag on one of the hard ones. Yeah. So Snake Eater. That's I was like Snake 1 and 2. People uploaded to Virus Total or Triage or something like that. And Snake Eater 1, I think, just like spat the flag out. And Snake Eater 2, I think, unpacked the flag and then deleted it. Right. So you could have solved it by uploading it to Virus Total. You could solve Snake Eater 1 by uploading it to Virus Total. You couldn't really solve it the second one. Cool. That's great. That means people understand to use the tools that are at their disposal to solve challenges. That's going to make you a better analyst in the long run. Like I'm totally fine with that.
I'm so excited for the write-ups. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Like, again, one of the best parts for sure.
Yeah. I want to touch on a point Matt made about unintentional solves. Is I couldn't agree more. Like we're building challenges for hackers. Thinking outside the box is the game. Like if you can break one of my challenges and get the flag in a stupid way, tell me how. I want to know.
Yeah.
Like that's so cool. Like I can't remember if it was last year or one of the challenges I wrote for NomCon, but somebody had completely missed. Like most players had completely skipped half of the challenge that I spent time writing because strings existed and completely made the challenge irrelevant because you dumped strings and it was like, oh, what's this random base 64 blob? Oh, it's the flag.
Yeah, another pitfall. That's another like tried and true challenge design pitfall.
Yeah. You get better as an author when you find these unintentional solutions. Like I encourage it. I don't care.
Yep. Totally okay. It happens. It's life. It's all for the fun of the game. And that's how we like to run it. Let's see.
Can I turn the tables and, I don't know, ask some questions of the audience?
Yeah.
Like, I would love, if anyone is willing to, hey, hang with us in chat, like, how are you feeling? Are you having fun? Is this enjoyable? Is this fulfilling? Does this drag on, be an entire month long? Do you like the structure of, just sprinkling in a couple new toys every day? Is that a fun, find your pace? I don't know, totally your own trajectory as to when you want to spend time for it. Does this inspire you to host a Capture the Flag competition for your own team, for your coworkers, for your peers, wherever organization you're at? Have you done this ever before? Are you building CTF challenges? Will you give any of these, if you do, to other techs, to other technicians? Are you already writing write-ups? Do you have a ton already prepared? Will you release those? Is there any other feedback that you could give us? Look, I hope this is an open book. I'd love to hear from you all. Help us know what's good, bad, and ugly, because that's the only way we can improve. And I would also love to hear, I don't know if this is a cool actual motivator that does keep you engaged for Cybersecurity Awareness Month. I know that's a big fluffy thing, but we hope this is one way to keep it really genuinely going throughout the whole month. But please, I'm going to shut up and go read chat. Please send us some.
I see a lot of positive sentiment, John, in the chat here. People saying, yeah, definitely, this is dope.
Ooh, good question. Where is NIM?
Yeah, where is NIM?
Did we get a NIM challenge in?
Right, the secret of NIM. Where is NIM? Did we? No, I was like, It's funny. The challenges sometimes represent like where you are in terms of your own like practitioner's journey. So like there's a lot of, I wrote a lot of like Go challenges because that's what I've been working in primarily. So it's just interesting. It's a little reflection. I like the long format because it lets me get dug in and learn. That's awesome. I love that. Variety, you know, big ups for the variety. Have been having fun with the CTF. I see a lot of positive sentiment. I mean, like always, like we're open for feedback. We will at some point put out a form that's going to do just the big rundown of like, how did you feel about this? What were your favorite challenges? What didn't work? We love reading the feedback about that. And that is, that's where you get to say like what's working for you, what works for you, what doesn't work, any improvements we can make for the next year and the next year and the next year. Because you better believe we're going to be doing this like every year until the heat death of the universe, probably. So,
I sleep schedule for the month of October.
Yeah.
No.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Love seeing the sentiment in the chat. I really mean, I've said this a couple times. I truly, sincerely mean this, that it's like, it makes it worth it when we see the community come out and engage with us and say their frustrations and how they overcame the challenges and what they liked, what they didn't like, provided you do it in a respectful manner. So we love hearing that. We love seeing the community. Like I said, it's a college campus, you know, in September, everybody's out there, everybody's having fun, have good vibes and the like. But I don't know. I think we're probably going to wind it down here a little bit, unless we've got any last minute kind of things. If we could, John, Adam, I'm going to ask you guys if you could give like one little piece of advice to everybody playing right now. Let's start with John. What do you think, man? What's the one piece of advice for everybody right now at the halftime point? We're in the locker room. Everybody, you're doing the Al Pacino, you know, inch by inch speech or something like that. Like, what are you going to say to the players?
If I may say, and I don't know, maybe this is an ask, so maybe it's selfish. Forgive me, but please keep playing, because when I'm looking at the schedule, I'm looking at like, oh, the second half, you know, they had us in the first half. Now they're going to even be better and stronger and more in the second half. There is so much cool stuff that is sprinkled in throughout the next couple of weeks. But some phenomenal bangers. And you saw Matt's teaser about like, what the heck is going on in his terminal? There are some really cool mind benders. So please, 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 if you've been having fun already, please keep playing. Please keep playing. And for anyone that hasn't already jumped in, huntress.ctf.games. Can't wait to see you there.
Said right from the man himself. I love it, John. Keep playing, everybody. Keep putting it out, leaving it out on the field. Adam, you've got everybody in the locker room. They had us at the first half, but this is the rest of the game, inch by inch. They got ball players too. Okay, so what are you saying? What are you saying to the players?
Definitely, please keep playing. Even more of a sentiment than that. Just have fun. There's no stakes. Just have fun, learn something. You know, we're having fun building challenges, and please, please, please keep giving us feedback. We can only get better with your feedback. We know there's hiccups. We know things aren't going 100% of the time. It's okay to give us that feedback constructively. We have the ticket system in Discord. Please use that as you see fit.
Absolutely outstanding. We got two seasoned CTF coaches giving you some direct feedback here. So get back out there, get back out on the field, keep playing, keep having fun. We're doing this for the love of the community and the enrichment of the community. You are the community. You are why we do this. And we really appreciate that. So I think we can probably call it there. Everybody, my name is Matt Kiley. I am, in fact, 3 caffeinated raccoons in a trench coat. And I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. I hope this was, again, we couldn't get Sabrina for the halftime show here, but I think three guys talking about challenge dev and that kind of thing is just as good, probably. And doesn't cost a house a mortgage to attend the concert of. Anyway,
yeah.
Take care of yourselves.
Info sec was taken.
Yeah. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Keep playing fair. Keep playing clean. Keep playing for the love of the game. My name's Matt. John, Adam, thank you for both coming on with this one. And we'll see you at the end, at the wrap up, the post game as well. So look out for that. Take care of yourselves. Peace.
Bye, everyone.